I had gained all my weight back and some change. I was 207.7. And that's when I really started to think, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this weight off again? Okay, so fast forward a month later, I had the knowledge that I was 207. I was weighing myself every day for accountability. I was drinking water, I was walking, I was getting my steps in, I was working out 3 times a week. And at the end of that month, and I have all of my numbers here, because if you're anything like me, I am data driven. And so I wrote down every single weigh in, every single piece of data, all the dates to look back on and remember where I started. So May 31st, I was 207. A month later, I was 206. I hadn't lost anything. I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure I was going to lose at least 4 or 5 pounds, and I hadn't. I'd cut my calories, and I was still eating some carbs, but not much. And then a month after that, well, right around July 20th, this is when I really started to say, okay, something has to change. I thought for sure I was going to lose at least 4 or 5 pounds, and I hadn't. I'd cut my calories, and I was still eating some carbs, but not much. July 20th, I was 207.7. I was the exact same weight I was when I first stepped back on the scale. And this was after 2 months of trying to actively lose weight. To say I was frustrated was an understatement. So I said, let's go back to keto. Keto worked the first time. Keto's going to work again. Let's do it. I started keto July 21st. I was 206.7. That worked somewhat. By August 2nd, I was 201. So I had lost 6 pounds doing strict keto, but I couldn't believe that it was not working the way it had worked before. And so it made me go down more of a rabbit hole into figuring out what is causing me to store fat. What is causing me to continue to gain weight when I'm not on keto? What makes my body work the way it does? And I stumbled on this thing called insulin again. And I said, what am I missing? What does insulin resistance mean? What does it mean to be resistant towards insulin? What does that mean? What is the glucose doing in my body? I had no idea. Nobody's ever really taught us this. I didn't get it. And I have people in my family that are diabetic, and I have people in my family that are pre-diabetic. I didn't know what that meant. I knew that they had gained weight or they were gaining weight. I didn't know that high insulin levels causes you to store fat. High insulin levels will prevent your body from losing any weight. High insulin levels will prevent your body from gaining muscle. I had no clue. So fast forward, I did a ton of research. I figured out what insulin does to my body. I figured out what glucose levels are supposed to look like. I bought a glucose monitor, pricked my finger, and read that my blood glucose level at fasting, that means right when I woke up, I hadn't eaten all night, it was 104, sometimes 114, sometimes 94, sometimes 103. I have all my numbers written down. But what it did for me was help me understand that after months, guys, after months of pricking my finger every morning and weighing in every morning, it took probably 3 months for me to understand that my body will not lose weight unless my fasting glucose is 80 or below. My body. Every body is different. Okay. So that's a number that you'll have to figure out for yourself. But once I figured out that, I was like, okay, let me try to get my blood glucose down to 80 at fasting. At first, my numbers were like this. Some days they were less, some days they were higher, some days they were less. And that was me being consistent with my diet. So I was like, what is going on? Why is my body sometimes have more glucose than the other days when I haven't changed the way I'm eating. More research was involved, and I learned that one, our bodies store glucose, and two, our bodies make glucose. So I had to figure out, was my body making glucose, or was it pulling from the store of all those wonderful carb heavy meals that I had had? And so listening to a lot of different podcasters and listening to Dr. Fong, I read his book, fantastic. I love it and recommend it highly. I realized I had a storage of glucose that I needed to get rid of. And the fastest way to get rid of that storage was working out or fasting. I did working out, and then I did a 36-hour fast. And my blood glucose dropped. It was 107 that morning. And then I did a 36-hour fast, and it went down to 75. So I had used a lot of that stored glucose. And little by little, I lost weight. So it was a combination of the keto diet, but it wasn't just that. If I would have just did the keto diet, it wouldn't have worked. I tried that. Or it might have worked and it would have taken a longer time. So the keto diet plus understanding and knowing what my glucose level was in combination is what helped me finally lose the weight. I did this for months and months. So I have all of August's logs. So August 20th, when I did that fast, and after being on strict keto, I had lost another 10 pounds. I was 197. And then by September 9th, I was 187. And my glucose levels were 76, 71. Sometimes they would go up to 92, 87. So they're still kind of bouncing around. And then by September 28th, I was 177. So I'd lost another 10 pounds. So that's 20 pounds by understanding that I had to be in ketosis. I had to empty those stores of glucose, and I had to understand and know what my glucose level was. So one thing that was really cool that I learned was I can eat as many nuts as I want. I love cashews and I love pecans. I can eat those all day and nothing happens to my glucose level. Like literally my body's like, oh, and even that has carbs in it. But for me, it didn't spike me. It didn't do anything. And matter of fact, I would lose weight when I would eat, just munch on nuts, snack on nuts. My body was happy. So that was fun to learn. And eventually I did get a continuous glucose monitor. I wore that for a month. And so I'll do another video on that and what I learned from that. But little by little, I was losing weight, and I'm currently at 168. So I lost the weight again. I don't need to prick my finger every morning anymore, because for me, I know what to eat, what not to eat. And I know how it's going to affect my body. Recently we had Thanksgiving, and I did well. I gave myself Thanksgiving that I was going to eat, drink wine, and not worry about it. And I wasn't going to step on the scale or prick my finger for 3 days after. 3 days after Thanksgiving, I was back to my normal weight. I was back down to I think 169. I don't know how much I gained, how much water I held onto at that time. But during Thanksgiving, I had on my continuous glucose monitor, and I was able to really understand how my body was reacting to food. And it was great. It worked. So if you're struggling with being on keto for the second time around, and you're like, what, second, third, fourth time around, and you're like, this isn't working anymore. It still will work, but maybe you're missing the glucose part. And so to understand your insulin levels and your glucose levels is to understand how keto works. It took me at least 2 to 3 months to get back into ketosis. And I had to use my glucose monitor to figure out when my body was actually in ketosis. So I hope that helped. I know it was a long video, and it was a roundabout way to say I'm back. I am so happy to be making videos again. I won't always be talking about my health and fitness. I will make videos when I feel inspired to about that, but I feel like I have that under wrap. If you guys want more information on insulin, on glucose, what I used, if you want me to share my numbers like physically on the screen, let me know. But yeah, there's other things that I'm doing and I'm excited to share that. My whole new career. I'll probably make a video about that later. And then also some stuff that me and my sister are doing, publishing books, working on children's books. I love all of that. I love all things art. And so there's going to be more videos in that direction, but I'm so happy that I'm finally finding my thing and I get to share it with you guys. So if you aren't subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe, follow along as I share all the things that I discovered in my 4-year hiatus. Okay, I'll see you guys later.